me how. Somebody explain to me. There are some stories that I just cannot process or metamorphose the compound sentences using the medulla oblongata of my equilibrium. No, I cannot. The photosynthesis is too high. That is to say that this one passed me. My Kenyan people, help your girl. They did this surgery for hours, by the way, before realizing that they had the wrong patient. So if you went to the hospital for stomach pain, my people, and you were taken into the theater and they cut your head open and said that they were sorry, it was a mistake, what would you do? They said that the patient is recovering, by the way. In fact, they have discharged this patient.
Enters John Delitu, the patient who was supposed to be operated upon by surgeons at the Kenyatta National Hospital, but instead it is Samuel Kimani who was wheeled to the theater for the head surgery. Kimani appears to be in a mild state of confusion. He had not been meant to undergo brain surgery.
So they said that it wasn't the doctor's fault, that it's because of wrong patient labeling by the ward staff. Now, this happened at Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi, less than 2 months after Kenya's health minister ordered an investigation into the claim that new mothers that were breastfeeding their children were sexually assaulted at the maternity ward. So it's not looking good right now. By the way, when the doctor and 3 other people that were involved were suspended, as the rest of the staff went on protest,
the registrars argue that their colleague was victimized, while the supervising consultant, who is also a senior doctor supposed to take responsibility, was not implicated.
They are saying that, the person that should be suspended is not suspended.
The medics have vowed to boycott until their colleague is reinstated.
The fact that the neurosurgeon knew how to open the brain, opened up a brain, looked into it and said, look, wait, there is no blood here. That's a competent doctor.
I know I'm a Nigerian and we are not better off, but seriously, Africa needs to revamp our healthcare sector. At least in most African countries, because South Africa, you guys are doing well, but the rest of us, we really need to work on our healthcare, and we need to be more professional when it comes to how we take care of people. But I want to know what you guys think about this drama. Leave a comment below. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.
Yes, this is the issue with Africa. Even though it's Kenya hospital, but this is common across the board in all hospitals in Africa, with the exception of South Africa. Why is South Africa healthcare system almost as good as the West, or just as good as the West? We know why. Because they were once ruled by white people. Hello, can we Africans be honest and sincere? Why is the healthcare system and the hospital system in South Africa is one of the best, if not just as good or better than some of the hospitals in the West? Why? South Africa has been for a few years, well, more than a few years, ruled by whites. But when the black man gets a hand on something, he destroys it. So all those who are the Africans, the African Americans, some of the white Americans, and all of those out there who were so offended and insulted that Donald Trump called Haiti an African country as whole country. What do you call this? Somebody went into the hospital for a stomachache and came back and they opened up his brains. What is that? They open up a brain, a patient, they try to perform brain surgery on the wrong patient. What do you call this? Women breastfeeding their baby in the maternity ward, they are being sexually molested and fondled. What do you call this? Do you call this paradise? For all of those who are so offended, Donald Trump insulted us. What do you call this? Are we still living in denial? Are we still delusional? This didn't happen 200 years ago. This happened today. We are in March 2018. This happened a few days ago, I think, or a week ago. So this is recent. And this is not just Kenya. This is the story in many, if not 98% of the hospitals in the continent of Africa. And the hospitals in Africa, you go to the emergency room with a life-threatening situation and you don't have the resources, you will die in the emergency room because they won't treat you until they take your money. But those of you who are living in the West and you have money, I'm talking about those Africans. You have the money, you have the luxury of the Western system. So you can come on social media and talk nonsense, talking about Donald Trump is a racist. So how do you explain this? Pack your bags and go back to Africa, saying Africa is such a paradise. Why are you even here? Can we just address the issue with Africa and be honest? Basic psychology, therapist 101 tells you, if you can acknowledge there's a problem, you have 50% solve your problem. Until Africa acknowledge that we have a problem, we're not going to solve it, because how can you solve something you don't acknowledge that it even exists? Well, let's acknowledge that's number one. Number two, most Africans will come and make their video, and we introduced civilization to the West and we invented this. Yes, but that was how many years ago? We have invented this, and we invented surgery. We taught the West about civilization, and we built the pyramid and all this stuff. Okay, granted, let's say that is even true. What have we done lately to brag about? That's my question. Most Black Americans will celebrate Black history. And so what? Can we celebrate Black future? It's wonderful. I thank God for those Blacks who had enough spiritual backbone to rise up to racism and segregation and hatred and discrimination. And they did something. So we have something to boast about today about what they did. But all of us Blacks, whether you Black in America, you Black in Africa, you Black in the Caribbean, what are we doing today that when we die today, the generation after us will have something to boast about? We can boast and brag about Black history, but what are we leaving? What legacy are we leaving behind that the generation after us will look back and boast and brag about us, just like we're boasting and bragging about Black history? What are we doing? What have we to write home about? What have we done in the continent of Africa lately that we can boast and brag to the West about? Whenever you talk about Africa's issues, many Africans and Black Americans want to bring up, we built the railroads and we brought civilization to the West. That was how many years ago, man? 200 years ago? 100 years ago? I'm not interested in what we did 200 years ago. What have we done lately that is worth talking about? What have we done lately that is worth bragging about? What have we done lately that if our generation passes off today, the generation after us will look back and brag about what we did? What have we done? We have nothing to boast and brag about but the past. It's time for us to boast and brag about the future. And the future can only be boast and brag about if we do something about it today to change it. Thank you.